Hey, okay, happy 2024, folks. Welcome to, season 3 of NEcology. I'm coming to you from lovely southern New Hampshire. I was just here a week ago to the day, and there was still a ton of snow on the ground. But the sun was out today, and the snow is melting, and many interesting plants are emerging for the season. One such example you can see right in front of us, a plant I probably saw it walking through here, but it wasn't in bloom last week. A plant that's new to me for this year, and one that I've been really excited to talk about, an April bloomer. It's mid-April right now, April 13th in fact, and like I said, we're here in southern New Hampshire. It's cold right now because I'm in the shade, and it's kind of late in the day, but I digress. Real interesting plant right here. This is Dirca palustris, from a family that if you are, living in North America, you're probably not super familiar with. This is in the family Thymelaeaceae, the stringbark family, and indeed these plants are famous amongst several other things we'll get into for having really fascinating, tough and stringy bark that made excellent cordage. But you know me. We'll get into the taxonomy and the biology of what's going on here. So this is Dirca palustris. Dirca is a genus that is never really common. This is by far the most common species in the genus. The entire genus is restricted to North America. You get this one, Eastern Leatherwood is the common name. You get this one scattered throughout eastern U.S., southeastern Canada, Appalachia, etc. Though widespread, it is quite infrequently encountered. It really needs, and I'll obviously give you some habitat shots here in a second, it really needs moist, rich, undisturbed forest to thrive. So though it's widespread, it's not necessarily common. And of course, you get 4 other species in the genus. You get one down in the Ozarks, which was only recently broken out from this species. You get one, Dirca occidentalis, out there on the west coast, San Francisco Bay Area. That's a really limited distribution. I'm missing one, is escaping me, unless there's only 4 species, in which case, never mind what I just said. And then you get another species, Dirca mexicana, which I might even be messing up the epithet. There's a species known from one population in Mexico. So it's a fairly cryptic and infrequently seen species. Most of the other species in this genus are narrow endemics, and this one just happens to be our native one here in New England. And that family, Thymelaeaceae, I got a buddy who is out there in the Middle East. Well, I guess he's in Israel, Palestine area. Whatever your definition of the Middle East is doesn't really, whatever. Before I go off trail, they got a whole bunch of these out there in the Mediterranean. This is one of those weird ones, just like Cistaceae, and ironically also in the order Malvalis, that likes the kind of dry, arid, or more dry and arid Mediterranean climates in the quote-unquote old world. But then you come over to North America, and there's a handful of interesting genera they don't necessarily get. Cistaceae, I did a whole video on that last year, so you can go watch that. That's your Crocanthamum, that's your Hudsonia, etc. So we got a flower in focus here, and indeed what you're looking at here, these fuzzy little leaves, alternate, are emerging just as the plant is flowering. Common habit for a lot of shrubs and trees, and you actually get quite a few little flowers packed into that emerging bud there. About 4 flowers. How many is it? 3 or 4? I can't tell. Tubular flowers. Get the side profile there. Very yellow. I could be completely blunt. I couldn't count the number of stamens they got in there. I think it's 4 or 8 per flower, and I think that they're just 2-tiered, because you certainly have more than 8 stamens there. If you got what actually look like to me 3 flowers, I'm guessing it's 4 or 8. I'll clarify. Little stigma hanging down there. Definitely found the stigma. In fact, if I count the stigmas, that'd be the number of flowers there, wouldn't it? Yeah, whatever. We don't have to get into that right now. But as you can see, little tubular cup-shaped flower emerges from these axils. There's a couple more right there. The plant actually smells really nice. Smells like it's got like a faint cinnamony aroma. I'll go take another whiff right now on one of these really open ones. Yeah, kind of like almost like a clove sort of smell. More like clove than cinnamon. And just really nice flowers. Interesting just taxonomically that it's the only thing even remotely related to it in the region. You know, Malvallies, not a super diverse order here in the northeastern United States, but you get a handful, and pretty much all of them, at least in my opinion, are pretty darn interesting. So, I'll give you a view of the bark on this. Super smooth bark. You know, I'm not going to try to damage the thing, obviously, but apparently, yeah, you can use that for cordage. The other thing I noticed about this is like the super distinctive branching habit where they're almost jointed like insect legs or something. I don't know if that's translating in the camera, if you can see what I mean. I don't know if there's a term for that, but really interesting branching, especially the young buds as they come out. And indeed, you know, there is one of the young buds there. So they're out now. They weren't out last week, and from what I hear, they'll be wrapping up, you know, in a week or two. Well, I'm planning on heading out to a spot that I had been to, you know, a couple years ago. First year I did this, and I know that there's supposed to be a bunch of these out in that spot, which I would have completely missed because I was out there in August, and obviously these flower super early in the spring. Back up there, not a large shrub, maybe about 4.5, 5 feet tall, but we're gonna go look around. Let me show you some of the other interesting, oh geez, just took a step down. Some of the other interesting stuff they got here. Got a cool fern, which I won't spend too much time talking about because this is going to pop up in a video I'm planning to shoot pretty soon. This is Polystichum, Aristocoides or acrostichoides. The Christmas fern is the common name. There was some Saurian one I was looking at over there. Not on this guy here. That's okay. Super lush habitat. All this right here. This is all Kalmia latifolia. This is all mountain laurel, which you would expect to see in a nice lush forest like this. Thing's evergreen. It keeps its leaves all winter. You know, very famous plant, well known across Appalachia. You get it up to, you know, doesn't quite make it to up into the White Mountains, but you certainly get it in the hilly, you know, terrain down here in, you know, southeastern Massachusetts, all over the place. And, you know, the Holyoke Range, the Metacomet Ridge, down in Connecticut and Western Mass. So, lowland plant here, upland plant as you get south in Appalachia. And then a plant that I always expect to see kind of dominating the overstory. Of course, this is a smaller one. They're all over this property. Very nice property, by the way. You get your Tsuga candensis, which I almost always expect to see growing up right alongside the Kalmia latifolia. Eastern hemlock there. That's a small one. There's plenty of big ones in the overstory. You get some really nice, almost old growth looking oaks here too. That's real nice. That's a big oak. You know, this is not a state park, but it's a little conservation land. But it's a beautiful one. They get the nice educational stuff for the kids, you know, for the kids and for the families, which is quite important. So here's more of that Polystichum. Let me just see if I can just find some sorry. I've been already jumping into, yeah, they look worse for wear, but you can see. Hang on. Yeah, there's some of the sorry right there. That's where the spores come out of. I've already kind of been jumping into the ferns this year. I've seen some interesting ones, so I'll be doing a video about those shortly. And then the only other thing, lovely stream side you got here. I'm going to do a better job about not jostling the camera around. And as you would expect in a nice, lush, clean brookside in the northeast, you get your, of course now I'm going to forget, Veratrum viride, your full screen Hellbore. Bear with me for right now. But yeah, real nice. These are coming out. These won't be blooming for a couple months, but they emerge early. Super toxic. Which also brings me back to this Dirca palustris. also known for being a pretty damn toxic plant. I think poisonwood is one of the other common names. Leatherwood, poisonwood, stringbark. But yeah, Thymelaeaceae, only member of its family in New England. I think that genus Dirca might be the only genus in the family you get in North America. I could be very, very wrong about that. You know, I don't know what they've got going on out there in California. And there have certainly been introduced species. Daphne is a pretty popular ornamental plant. I'll put a little picture up of Daphne that people grow even around here. But I know that that gets a little bit, I think that could take it a little bit drier. So they might be growing that a little bit further west. So anyway, that's enough of a, cut to film for the first video. Hopefully, like I said, I'm going to really try and mind my camera etiquette. I got the tripod out right now, although it's kind of on an unbalanced spot. I'm hoping that makes a difference. I'm going to have a new lens on this camera. I should just put all this in a general announcement, but just know I heard feedback. People like the content. It could be a little bit better filmed. I hear you, and I totally agree. We're going to work on it. Dirca palustris, what a fascinating plant. Smells great, looks cool as shit. There's a guy. What's that, a mayfly? Look at this guy hanging out on the Dirca. And we'll go see what else is going on. There's a couple other interesting things I got on this property. I'm jumping right into it. It was such a warm winter this year that we got a whole bunch of stuff that we can talk about even right now in April. Let's go see. I got a couple other things I got to show you, and then I got to go make some meatballs. So speaking of inhabitants of rich mesic woodlands, you got a tiny little ginseng here. He's barely recognizable as it, but I caught one of these last year, both right before it bloomed and then in bloom. Gonna be quite a few weeks before he's open. See those flowers right there? He's gonna unfurl himself. This is Panax trifolius. This is dwarf ginseng, so not ginseng quinquefolius, the American ginseng of herbal fame. This is the little guy. Aureliaceae is the family, same family as English ivy, a plant I can't stand, and Aurelia nudicalis, which is a common but very interesting May bloomer, late May bloomer. But this guy will probably be going off. He's gonna need a few weeks. I saw this last year in one of the videos that I accidentally deleted, so you bet we'll be coming back to look at this. If not here, then the other place I saw it. Interesting plant, not nearly as rare as or desirable as its bigger, close cousin Panax quinquefolius, but still a very, very interesting plant, and always one that Aureliaceae is a really cool family. It just gets a bad rap because there's some real nasty invasives in that family, but there's some really cool plants in there too. Especially if you go down to the mid-Atlantic where you get like Aurelia spinosa, the devil's walking stick. That's a great plant. And this little guy is related to it. How about that? Nice catch on my part. Jeez. Yeah, see, this one's a little bit more unfurled. You get the idea of what's going on here. So these are 3 leaves. They're just divided compound leaves, and that inflorescence comes up through the center. Obviously, this one's still immature too. Again, probably 2 or 3 weeks before these are really going off, early May. But yeah, this one is a little bit more recognizable as a dwarf ginseng. And see, here's a plant commonly, I guess, mistaken for that Dirca. Still somewhat unusual, just needs like the really rich, moist habitat, but completely different family. Another interesting family, another one we don't get much of. This is Lindera benzoin. This is the Spicebush. Flowers aren't quite open on this one yet, but they will be imminently. In fact, down near my house, which is a little bit closer to sea level and a little bit further south, I think they might be opening up this week. Really cool dioecious plant. You can see there's more behind those little yellow specks. Another one that smells absolutely amazing, and I'm going to be doing a plant spotlight on this one this year, so I won't take up too much time talking about it now, or even it'll probably pop up in a video when in bloom. You can always tell it apart. It's got the lenticelled bark, and even though Dirca has that epithet palustris, which hints at a swamp-related habit, this plant is the much more water-loving of the two. So even though they do commonly co-occur, or where they're both found, they do co-occur. In fact, because there's actually many more down lower. getting towards the stream. There's another one right here. In fact, let's take a look. Maybe this one will be in bloom. I get plenty of opportunities to cover this guy though. He's still in bud. We won't worry about it. He'll make an appearance in a couple videos coming up, but and he'll get his own whole video. Dioecious plant. You get male and female flowers in separate plants. Just a real interesting one. Smells amazing. Has a number of interesting uses. Butterflies love it, and it's one of the first things to really pop in the spring. Laurales is the order. Lauraceae is a family. So same order, same family. Well, same order too, but same family as avocado and bay leaf. Real interesting. So you want to talk about young love and plants that really got me into botany. Here's one of the first plants, interesting plants that is, besides maybe skunk cabbage, simple carpus foetidus, to make an appearance in some of my earliest videos. These little gray stalks here, they're just starting to emerge. This one's still closed up. This one, that I'm gonna hopefully be able to zoom in on for you, is just starting to open. Three-lobed little, I guess you could call that a calyx, although I don't think these have a true calyx. I think these have tepals, and those are merely 3 bracts subtending said tepals. Anyway, this is Anemone hepatica, or Hepatica nobilis, Hepatica americana, Anemone americana. Goes by many monikers. This is the blunt-lobed hepatica in the family Ranunculaceae, the buttercup family. Let me see if I can. I'm really trying. There's a whole bunch of them just starting to come out. I just don't want to trample any of them. We'll get right in there. Oh, look how fuzzy that is. That's nice. So I'm sorry, the resolution of my camera does not really allow for good filming at this zoom. Oh, those anthers in there. Beautiful purple color. There's a, you get multiple, I always forget how it works, multiple ovaries or many carpelled ovary down there in the middle. These are just starting. We'll have plenty of opportunity to hopefully see these again. But you usually don't see the flowers first. What always gets me, you see, those are what the flowers look like when they're emerging. Real easy to miss. In fact, I didn't even see that patch when I walked by the first time. However, yeah, there's another one in bud right there. The leaves, super distinctive. Anemone acutiloba. Oh yeah, they're all over the place. It's just popping up everywhere. Anemone acutiloba, which is a very closely related species in the same genus with very similar looking flowers. The flowers of these, of which can be, white, pink, purple, just generally dull shades. Very distinctive leaves. The blunt-lobed one, obviously, has blunt lobes. Anemone acutiloba, which is more common as you head west, which I've seen before, just never in flower. The sinuses are deeper, and the tips of these, leaflets are much more, well, acute, sharp. Great plant, but, still a little early to really catch it in its full glory. But they're kind of everywhere over here, huh? Hey, so right here we got a plant that I'm actually surprised isn't blooming. There's actually, there's a bunch of them around behind me. This is Erythronium americanum. This is the yellow trout lily. Bunch of tiny little mottled leaves. That's what they look like. Real distinctive, real hard to miss. You get Erythronium albidium a bit south and a bit west of here, but in New England proper, really only Erythronium americanum. But this is one of those ones. Even if you miss it, down in the lowlands, kind of in April. Also, there's a bunch of poison ivy in here now that I'm looking around and realizing where I'm standing. Oh well, I think we'll survive. This is one of those ones that you can really count on to be a champion of the concept of altitude's effects on phenology. So though right now it's early April, or I'll say mid-April, you go up down in Boston in the Middlesex Fells, you get a whole bunch of these, probably pretty close to blooming right now. Definitely would have the flower stalks out, probably blooming next week. But then you go up to like the White Mountains, these are still just getting started in May, long after they're done. Down here at sea level, you can count on these still be flowering up at the higher elevations. Real good example of that. In fact, you can even see on NEcology. I think I got a video where I do Mount Tecumseh. You can even see they're done at the bottom. They're in full bloom halfway up, you know, 2,500, 3,000 feet, full bloom. And then up at the top of the mountain, you know, we're getting to the top of the mountain. They're not even, you know, they look like this still. But that was, you know, a month and change after, you know, this current state. Ooh, it looks like there was an aspen. Someone's got an aspen growing around. I'll show you a couple more things, then we should honestly get out of here. Okay, we're just going to wrap up here with two plants that, well, not native to New England. Well, this one's technically native to the Northeast, but not necessarily New England. Not as far as I understand. And one that's not even native to North America, but I digress. This is Podophyllum peltatum, just emerging for the year, looking like they've been getting gnawed on by something. You can see them, little umbrellas, just one or two leaves on the thing, and the entire stem, I guess you could say, is technically the petiole. Berberidaceae is the family. We don't get many, you know, truly native New England Berberidaceae. Mostly just Caulophyllum thalictroides and Caulophyllum giganteum, the blue cohoshes. But you know, this one's widely, you know, celebrated across Appalachia. It's not an invasive. It's just one of those ones where it, you know, kind of like a lotus, American lotus, and the Lumbalutea. You know, you kind of make an exception. Is it maybe not native? Sure. Is it unwelcome? Not necessarily. It's an interesting plant, and it's from close enough by that stuff, you know, the deer and I don't know. Don't take my word for that, but stuff clearly goes after it. It's not from, you know, across the continent or from another continent. It's from a bit south of here. And as, you know, the environment continues to warm, perhaps it'll become a bit more common. A lot of times when these are emerging, you probably can't see what I'm looking at. You can see the flower kind of popping out. Not the case on this particular guy. Little beautiful white flower, circular, pops out underneath the, by the way, peltate, just a fancy word for umbrella. Like, this is a peltate leaf right here, okay? Just a fancy word for that. The flower will pop out underneath it. And then it makes a little fruit that I believe is edible, but the plant, by and large, is highly toxic. So, you know, dig in if you're so inclined. Go look at one little plant. Not even really native to North America, but it's an interesting one. So we'll go look at it. The family doesn't even occur here, so we'll go check it out. Okay, last and, you know, frankly, least, you got a non-native species, a European species, but a really, really popular ornamental. This is Galanthus nivalis in the Amaryllis family, Amaryllidaceae. And actually, believe it or not, these are already on their way out. These bloom as early as like March. You know, if you're on the South Shore, you know, I ran a half marathon literally over a month ago, and these were popping up all over the place down, you know, along not Cape Cod, but, you know, South Shore, New Bedford area. You get the idea. So these are in the family Amaryllidaceae. They're monocots, if you can't tell that just from the general form factor there of having the one leaf and the weird little three-parted flower. You can see that swelling inferior ovary there. These aren't invasive or anything. I think they naturalize sometimes. You get them on the edges of like parking lots and on the edges of, you know, somebody plants them and they pop up in the woodland behind. Kind of like daffodils, which are in the same family. Are daffodils in the Amaryllis family? I gotta look that up. Narcissus is the genus. Let me look that up. Not really that fond of daffodils, but you can see that maturing ovary there. 3 sepals, and then zoom in a little bit more. Ow, poking myself on a rose thorn behind it. And then you look down in there. Kind of withered, because again, the thing's on its way out, but lovely green interior petals with the green tip there. I don't think we get any native Amaryllis in North America. I think Amaryllidaceae is pretty much Eurasia, the Middle East, maybe, probably Africa too. The quote-unquote old world family of plants, you know. No real equivalent to these. All of our ephemerals kind of look different. You could, you know, skunk cabbage is our earliest one. I think that's a more interesting plant than this, but that's, you know, also a monocot, but a heck of a lot harder to grow, at least intentionally. Anyway, hopefully that was pretty good to kick the dirt off. I'm already planning to do 2 or 3 more videos this month, which I've never really done videos in April, or earlier than that. I did the skunk cabbage video last March, but that was a one-off, and then I took a break for a while, so we'll see what's going on. Tried to keep the camera stable. I'm gonna replace this lens hopefully sooner rather than later, and hopefully it's gonna be a good season. I got a bunch of good stuff planned. I'll be doubling back to some places I feel like I really undersold, paying attention to plants and families that I wasn't even aware of 2 years ago when I started doing this. And obviously we're gonna discover new stuff along the way. So I hope you're looking forward to it as much as I am. And I hope this little galanthus enjoys oblivion here at the end of his season in mid-April. But he didn't do anything wrong. He, again, not invasive, just he's just a little ornamental guy. So hopefully you check back in, have a great day, afternoon, evening, morning, whatever, and hopefully you come back and check out another video.